Yes, here we go again with the third part of our videos on the sword, where I've mixed up yet another shade color by mixing, about a third abyssal blue into the anthracite gray, and we'll just draw that in here. Oh, that was quite a jump. I think I need to thin that out a bit. Well, I don't know, maybe it works if I just sort of feather in the edges here. Yeah. Sort of a quick wet blend there and we're good. I think I'll just wipe the brush off a bit before I do it the next time here. Oh, sorry for falling silent there. I was just very focused on trying to get a feel for how dark that actually tints it and what it looks like. And compared to the other side, just I'm doing a very, very light stroke here with very little paint in the brush to build it up gradually and not get that sudden jump. Oops, there we go. Got the sudden jump. Now the paint is fighting me by creating a sort of bubble here with none of the dark color in the middle. Well, we'll go back to that once it's dried. I think what happened was that I managed to lift up the previous layer of paint and thus expose a lighter shade underneath. This is looking much better, but this here looks horrible. Has it dried yet? Don't know why it's doing that. I'll go back to it later. Let's test it out here. And here. And here. Okay. So I'm going to mix up yet another shade. Before I go to that, go back to the one I just had and see if we can fix this. That looks a bit better. Anyway, now we're up to about 50-50 between the two colors, the blue and the gray, the abyssal blue and the anthracite gray. As with the top highlight, now I'm just sort of drawing a thin line in the middle of the previous shade color. I got way too much mix up on my palettes. Never going to need that much, but again, hopefully I can reuse it for some other project later. Oh, that was way too thick, way too much paint on my brush. I gotta thin that out. quickly go back to previous shade and feather in the edges there, and oh, I overstepped into that highlight. Gotta reestablish that. See, when you're doing this type of really delicate precision work, you have to have, as I said, very little paint in the brush and do these feathering strokes to make it look natural, to make the transitions gradual, not to get big jumps. I mean, you do want a jump in the end. From the darkest to the lightest should be sort of a jump, and I mean, compared to when you're painting like skin, for example, where you want the transitions to feel natural and smooth, with NMM the purpose at the end is to get extremely high contrast. In fact, let me take just a small amount of pure abyssal blue and dot that in the middle here and see what that does. That looks really extreme when I'm in extreme close-up, but perhaps at a distance it looks better. I almost had a big blob of paint there. So now we have rather extremes of light and shade. Next thing is I'm not sure if that needs fixing here. That doesn't look good. I'm gonna smooth out a few of these. Transitions with it's really hard to say what I'm just sort of by feel mixing in the various shades and highlights to get a color that I think will provide a transition, and I'm just applying it very sparingly in some small parts, and I'm trying to look at it from different angles to see from which angle it looks good and from which it looks too much or too little. And yeah, so I'm gonna let this rest for a little bit and rest my eyes and then come back in and do the edge. Okay, so I think what I want to try to do now is, let's see if I can get an angle where I both see what I'm doing and you can see what I'm doing. I want to highlight the edges of the blade, and I'm starting out with the nacre to establish a base of comparison. so to speak. And I'm using the normal edging technique. You're here using the edge of my brush, and with, well, the edge of the tip, to be precise. This might take a few layers to make it look reasonable. And once I've done the nacre to my satisfaction, I'll go back in with white. Now I'm drawing in the center line here also with the nacre, and when drawing in the center line I'm sort of favoring what would be the top of it from the direction of the sun. So and what I'm doing here, I don't trust my ability to draw a straight line freehand, so what I'm doing is very, very short strokes along portions of the edge, which in the end hopefully connect up to make a line. And turn it over. And I'm realizing this is going to take a long time. You know, if I were to show you all of this, it would take the entire video. But I've shown you the basic idea of what I'm going to do, so I'm going to turn it off now and finish at least this color to my satisfaction, and then come back. Alright, I've taken the nacre as far as it will go, and I think for the lower edge, that is the edge that is lower to the ground, the bottom edge, I'm not going to add any more highlights, but for the top edge, I'm just going to get a little bit of white and very carefully put that in there. And also reinforce the center line with, this slight hint of white. This has to be done very carefully, but at the same time, if I'm too see, there's a bend in the sculpt there. That's where white, or maybe the casting. Well, let's turn it over and see what happens. That edge becomes really bright, which is what we want. Oops. A little much, but no, it's fine. Let's see, how do I need to hold this to get at the center? Can't talk painting. This is the sort of thing that if I mess it up, I have to clean it up later. Which is fine, of course, but it's always nice if I don't need to. So that became too thick. I need to reestablish the shade here. It's again, this is really quickly see I've messed up and put way too much of a light color there, so I went back with the base color, the graphite, and now I'm doing the anthracite gray, pretty much straight, to bring that bit of shade back. And yeah, I can sort of, to emphasize the middle edge here, I can just paint a slight line of the base color underneath it. Because otherwise it's just white on white and it kind of disappears. And then we need to re-establish this highlight because that became too thick. Yeah, I'm not too happy with this highlight here. For some reason this area is resisting me. It could be that the sculpt or the casting is not perfectly straight there, and that's why it's making it harder for me to draw a straight line. But yeah, that looks okay. Going back with a pure white here. Again on the top edge here. And Bob's your uncle. I think. You know what? This is looking pretty good. Yeah. Let's compare it to they have a bit of a bigger shadow on top there. But I'm reasonably happy with mine. I can perhaps deepen it a little bit, but I'm not going to do too much cleanup here. That didn't look good. Because overall, I think it looks good. What do you think? Now, just for the heck of it, and just to show you what it contrasts against, I'm going in and painting the cross piece here. with a brown color, which I will explain later what it is. Just to set it apart. This is going to be part of the process painting this, but there. Because the hilt is going to be a bronze or a gold color later, and so I want to show you what that looks like. But unless it looks really horrible when I watch the video back, I'm gonna say call the blade of the sword done and gloss coat it. And the thing I'm going to move on to next is more NMM. I'm going to do the hilt, the cross piece, the guard, actually, of the sword, and this part of the neck thing in a non-metallic gold. But that will be in the next video, and probably next week. So until then, I'm Dakiyan. Have a nice weekend, because I'm signing off.